Hello and welcome to MHA Digital Communities. My name's Katie and today we're going to be making some Christmas themed art. So for today's session, we're going to be making a beautiful glistening snowflake. I'm calling it a dark snowflake because it's all made on dark paper, so the contrast really comes out. You're not going to need many materials for this one, but you will need some colouring pencils. I've got a white, a bright blue and a dark purpley blue. I've got my pencil, rubber and sharpener, a Pritt stick and some silver glitter, and a ruler. And the paper that you'll need, as I said, needs to be a dark cartridge paper, or it could be some card. I've got black, but you could use another colour like a navy blue or a dark purple. So let's get started. So for this activity, we're going to be drawing a beautiful snowflake. And the idea is to create a structure first and then add the detail and the layers of colour, and finally we'll be adding the glitter. So the way I like to start is I take my piece of paper and I just like to find a spot in the middle. So I'm going to use my ruler for that. You can just do it by eye, but sometimes it's just easier using a ruler. You just feel a bit more secure about the middle. So on this ruler I've got about 30 centimetres there, if I just take a little bit off the edge. So halfway through is going to be along here, and width-wise it's about 20 centimetres, so it'll be about 10. So I'm just going to get my pencil to mark that down. Just use my pencil and I've got the middle. Okay, so we're going to get started. What we're going to do is we're going to start off by drawing the 6 different stems of the snowflake. So the snowflake grows outwards from the center, and I want to make each one of these stems the same length. So I'm going to make them about 9 centimetres across, which just gives me a little gap along the edge. So I'm just drawing across to start with, just so I can sort of center everything. And then I'm going to put the lines that I'm going to be drawing on, which go diagonally across. I'm just going to use one long line here, so and then try and get it at the same angle, which I would say is about 45 degrees if we want to be specific, but halfway, basically halfway along. Okay, you'll disregard this line that goes straight across because we're just going to have the 6 different stems. Okay, now that we've got that, we can then start to build the shape of the snowflake, and for that you could just work in pencil first and go over it, but I'm going to go straight into my white pencil. But if you feel more confident just doing it all in pencil first, you could do that. Okay. So I'm going to now start to grow my snowflake crystal, and I'm going to start off by just drawing like a little circle in the center just to help see the center, and then I'm going to start drawing these little branches that are not symmetrical, so they're not exactly the same on both sides. They're actually each side is slightly different. I'm going to start off just with some small branches out of it, and I'm trying to vary the shapes at the end. So some of them are pointed, some of them are round, some of them are jaggedy, some of them are a bit longer, like that. And I'm going along to the edge until I reach the end of that line, and then I'm just going to put a little point on the end, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the way down. So I'm going to go down the other side, and I'm adding in these little, what I'm calling branches. So in order to make this artwork, I did do a little bit of research into snowflakes, which is not something you often really think about. You see them falling and they're really beautiful, and then they're gone. So I've just done one branch, and then I'm going to now move and do this one underneath. Again, it's going to be around the same length. So I start off with a little wobbly line, and then I just do one little stem coming off it. So these snowflakes have been sort of photographed and obviously carefully lit to show this crystal nature that they have, and this very reflective nature that they have, which is what we're going to explore in this drawing. There's something just very satisfying about seeing the contrast of the dark paper and the white pencil. So I'm just going to double check the length of that one, because that one I've added a little longer one, 9 centimeters, 9 centimeters. Yeah, I've added a little longer tip, so I'll just do that just so it looks balanced out. Okay, so when we've done that, then we proceed to do these 2 more branches, and trying to fit in some different sized little shapes. So we've got some that are longer, some that are shorter, and again, they don't all have to be the same, they can be slightly different. There's a general sort of growing upwards and towards the tip. Here we go. I'm going to start down the other side. So it turns out that in order to photograph snowflakes, you either have to go somewhere where it's very, very cold, like Alaska, or apparently they can now grow them in a laboratory. And each one grows a slightly different shape depending on the temperature and the humidity as it's growing. So we haven't had any frost yet, but it's always nice to see those frosty mornings where everything just sparkles. Here we go. Okay, so you can see it building up, and let's go for this side now. Again, just start off with some small little prongs, little branches, and then go slightly larger. And really, I guess they're crystal forms, made of crystals. Okay, and then we'll take this one. Okay, so there we have the basic outline of the snowflake. I'm just going to rub that horizontal line out because I don't need that one. And now that you've done that, we'll start to add in a little bit more detail into the shape using the colouring pencils. So I've got my bright blue and my dark blue here, and I'm going to go along and I'm going to just start adding in, next to the white line, I'm going to start adding in some dark little areas of colour. There's no rule really about where to put these, but these are just little places where, if you can imagine, if this is obviously a piece of ice essentially, there are areas where it catches the light and there are areas where it's slightly in shadow and light's going through it differently. So that's what the dark colours would represent. So we're just going to scatter some of that along. I'm just going to do that, and you'll go all the way around and do that. Then I'm going to go in with the pale blue colour and put in little areas of blue colour next to the dark blue in just little broken patches. Like that. I can go back in with some white and add some further highlights. So I'm making these little highlights into more kind of linear, so little lines, just to give it a bit more of a structure, with this idea of it being slightly like branches. And then I'm going to do that throughout, so I'm just going to go up again. So they say that no two snowflakes are the same, and so you can really experiment with your snowflake shapes once you've got this formula, I guess. You've got this structure, you can really play around with the shapes. And you can also experiment with the colours. I'm using obviously these two shades of blue and the white, but you could easily also introduce some pinks, some turquoise, some yellows, etc. It's entirely up to you. So we've got plenty of the blue there, and now for these more highlighted areas, we've got the pale blue. And then just some bits of extra white. Okay, so when you're happy with the design, if there's any areas that you want to make them stand out a little bit more, you can just, again, go round. I'm just going around the white edge and just highlighting some of the edges a little bit, so it's not kind of the same all the way around, just putting some little highlights. I think the more variety of sort of thin and thicker lines, the more interesting it looks. We'll have a little bit here. And it just, if you have a thicker line under something, it just gives it a little bit of a 3D feel, a little bit of how it has a certain, even though it's very light and very small, it's got still got a weight to it. So we'll put a little bit of light. And there we go. And now we're ready for the fun part, which is, or the extra fun part, which is the glitter part. But before we do that, I just remembered I do need to add these little beams of light, so I'm just going to do that. So I've got my white pencil, and just from the center, you can use your ruler if you wish, so you can just put the ruler across, and then I'm just going to do some broken lines radiating out from the center of the snowflake right to the edge, like this. So this would be, it's really something to show the idea of it shining and glistening, and just add something to the background. So we've got that going across. I'm doing it from the center, so I'm holding my ruler there and then just angling it to the edge. You can go quite quickly with that. So I've done some using the white pencil, and now I'm going to just use the dark blue pencil. I'm going to just do these freehand. I'm just going to do it without the ruler, just to fill in some areas like that. So it's really subtle, the ones with the dark pencil, but it just adds another layer of colour. Okay, and now it's time for the glitter. So I've got this quite handy little pot that has like a shaker, so you can shake it out. If not, you're probably just best off pinching a little bit with both fingers and sort of sprinkling it across, but I'm just going to shake it out. So I'm going to get my Pritt stick, and I'm going to add just a thin line of glue along the center. It seems a little bit like you don't want to put glue over your drawing, but it's just a thin layer, just along the 6 branches of the snowflake. Oops, there we go. And if you pick it up, you can sort of tilt it around in the light. You can see where you've put the glue. It is difficult to see, but we've just put that along there. Put the lid back on there, and then I'm going to get the glitter. You might want to put another sheet of paper underneath, just so that it doesn't go all over the place, or some newspaper. So I'm just going to sprinkle the glitter onto here. So you need to sprinkle much more glitter than you'll actually need on there, because only a little bit will stick. So quite a bit of it will fall off. So I like to do that. Then I like to take another piece of paper and just run my hand over it, just to press it down. So most of the glitter will come off, but some of it will remain. So what we'll do is we'll just put this piece of paper down. So obviously that looks really lovely, but we can't really see the snowflake anymore. And now what we're going to do is just tip the excess And there we have it. So we have those areas of glitter. You might want to add little touches of glitter around the edge, or you might want to add a few bits around the edge, but I quite like just to have it on the stem so it just looks quite minimal and sparkly. And that's the dark snowflake. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next activity.